Good afternoon, 49er faithful. We are here live on a Friday. We got a Monday night football game coming up for the San Francisco 49ers, a very important one. We just wrapped up the show over on Grant Cohn's channel. Apologies for being a few minutes late. We obviously go live directly after a live, and therefore it's a flexible start time. But I appreciate those of you who are watching the other show. For those that just decide to jump in on this one alone, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to go through a couple of topics before I get into a dialogue with you all. Just want to say hello to those that have already jumped over. Ellis 10 looks like he was the first one in, jumping over from the other side. Persist, bro, talking about, I hope they lose this game, so Shanahan will be pressured to start Lance. I have to agree that I would love to see us move on to Trey Lance, but I can't count myself in the group of fans that would rather have the loss. I can't root for that. It's not within me. I have to root for a Niners victory, even if it cost us. That happened when the Niners were playing the Rams in LA. We were going for the number one overall draft pick that would have gotten us Myles Garrett. And Kaepernick was starting at quarterback. He ended up a quarterback keeper, scoring a touchdown. I was losing my mind because we were going to win the game. And then I realized, oh, that cost us the number one overall draft pick. So I rooted, against the 49ers' interest, but for the 49ers to win that game. That is just how I have to look at it. I'm with Ellis here talking about, I hope Lance is put in special packages or looks. It's unacceptable to me that we're not getting him snaps at this point. I understood when he wasn't 100% coming off of the knee injury that you wanted to wait. His development, his career is too important to pull a potential RG3 situation where you put him in on an unstable knee, something bad happens, and now you regret that decision to the umpteenth degree. But you can now bring him in. He should be 100% from what we're hearing. He is a full participant in practices. And those opportunities are there to get him some successful shots. And yes, you could argue that you're taking away snaps, easy snaps from Jimmy. But if those turn into shot plays, if those turn into explosive plays for the offense, that's a net positive. And Jimmy seems unlikely to generate the explosive plays. Lance's skill set matches up with it 100%. And to Ellis's next point, he needs the reps because we have 9 games left. And Jimmy's propensity for lower leg injuries or injuries in general could mean that Lance has to start whether Kyle Shanahan wants to put him in or not. He is the backup quarterback. If Jimmy goes down, you would think that Kyle's putting him in. So he needs to be getting those snaps. I dig it. Chester is still with me. I appreciate it, Chester. Mike asking, where's Omenihu? This is a good question. He may pop into the equation this week. It's looking like he should come in. He should be on the field. And Samson Ebukam hasn't provided the type of pressures that the 49ers have needed to generate opposite of Nick Bosa. We do not have a bookend defensive end scenario right now. Omenihu appears to flash talent. I mean, he had a high rate of pressures and a high number of QB hits for the Texans. You would think Chris Kosarek would be able to coax more out of him, get more from the raw talent, and that we may see flashes on the field. Hopefully he is in there. Sean, I appreciate the compliment. I thought it was a great show too. I always love when it's a solid back and forth. Grant and I have very different opinions on where this team is, the level of talent that's there. We had different expectations going in, although both of us expected this team to be much better than they are record-wise at the halfway point. But I expected this to be a very good team. I bought into the playoff push mentality. I really thought that was going to be the reality. Jamie, yes, was late because of the show on the other channel. It was a good one, so we had to keep going. Kimba, I'm with you. 49ers fans for life. That's why I can't root against them to lose. Even though the net gain for the 49ers may be a positive one, I just can't stomach it. I need an uplift. I need the 49ers to beat the Rams on Monday night to make me feel better I need that, 49er faithful, and I hope you are with me on that. All right, let's get into a couple of topics, and a couple of these I'm attempting to go positive. I'd love to get your reactions to these topics, so I will stay within the comments, the current comments, and don't worry, I'll try and scroll back up and get to some of those that I missed in between now and then. But let's jump into our first topic and get your takes on it as well. I think it's a positive that we're not seeing the level of leaks that we saw from this organization. Still, to this point, a lot of teams, even if they are tight-lipped, tight-ship organizations, when they get to this level of dysfunction, people start pointing fingers at one another. It may end up there for the 49ers, but to this point, it hasn't. And as hard as it may be for some fans to recognize, it doesn't appear that this team is fracturing at this point. And that has to be a positive thing. That has to be something we hold on to. I'm not seeing the infighting. Now, hit me in the comments if you feel differently about it. I think that that is not the case. I'm not seeing the infighting. I think that it has been some positive things. Greg's just grateful for some positivity. You are welcome. I am always going to try and bring that because I am a glass half full type of guy. No question about it. It still feels like there's a strong relationship between Jed and Kyle. They still have each other's backs in the media. They seem to say complimentary things about one another. Kyle asked John to come in and speak to the entire team before the Bears game. No players that I've seen that are directly quoted have shown any outward signs of discontent with Kyle Shanahan or the locker room. They seem to be searching for answers. They don't have the answers, but certainly they seem to be holding together. Guys still seem to have Kyle's back. They seem to have D'Amico's back when they're speaking about him. People definitely seem to point towards other issues. AL, welcome to the page. I appreciate it. Persist, bro, talking about it starts with Jed. Yes. Ooh, Talal, calling it now. Kyle will play Lance Monday night. Boom. Along the lines of letting Jed go. So people aren't seeing the dysfunction with John, Kyle, and the leaks aren't coming from Parag or Jed either, but people are upset with Jed. But this is a big prediction. Talal calling that Lance starts Monday night. I think we would all be very excited by that move. Absolutely. Jamie Bryant coming in, asking me, can we bring back Eddie D? Go to NFL, apologize for his illegal dealings that was decades ago, and get his team back, and Denise can take back the family business. I would be absolutely fine with that move. What cost Eddie D ownership of the San Francisco 49ers was bribing some officials in regard to a riverboat gambling operation. He thought he could grease the wheels and get a permit of some sort, and he got called out by that. The NFL was not a fan, but now the NFL has embraced gambling. Why not bring him back? It's like Pete Rose not making the MLB Hall of Fame. It's just strange at this point. Sean Dunn loves the logic. Says, you nailed it. No issues in the building. We have an elite player paid at each level on the team. We're just underperforming, and Jimmy's $26 million is what will be used in 2022 for free agency. I believe this. Sean and I are on a similar page here. Let me tell you what I mean. The 49ers have an elite player at many different positions within the team. It is not a team devoid of talent. They have arguably the best left tackle in the league. The rest of the line, not great. Laken Tomlinson, certainly a plus run blocker. You could probably list him as an above average or slightly or average pass blocker. Yes, problems along the right side of the line. But then an emerging star in Elijah Mitchell at running back. A fullback who you could argue, although fullback may be a less than utilized position on the 49ers team, it's heavily utilized. And Juice is the best in the league. I don't think there's really a question about it. Deebo Samuel playing like one of the best wide receivers in the league. Brandon Ayuk flashing some of that promise that we saw in his first year. Other side of the ball, Nick Bosa still very dominant. Eric Armstead, you can argue about how much he deserves to be paid, but he's performing well within this season. Fred Warner, again, just earned a mega deal. You could say he's fallen off a little bit, but I don't think you can argue that the talent isn't there. And the safeties, when they're healthy and on the field, are very good. So the talent is certainly there. It's just a question of getting it utilized. And I would agree that next year, it's not pretty. Next year, you have, I believe, 31 players under contract, and the 49ers are estimated to be $8.5 million over the cap already. But that is because Jimmy's deal is still on the books. And at some point, you would think that that deal comes off the books. They move on from Jimmy G. That would be my suspicion. And you have some cap dollars to spend there. All right, looking at the comments here, looking to see your opinion on the positive takeaway of no leaks. Let's see if Jamie's talking about it. Saying at me, if they have a losing season, I say fire both of them. They came in together, so they need to leave together. Jamie, that's the same position that Grant took on this, and I see the logic there. It makes sense. You brought them in as a pair to have a particular dynamic within the building. If you let one go without the other, it's fair to question what dynamic you're left with. If you let go of Kyle, now you're saying that you're basically acknowledging that John has done a good job with his position. That one's tough for me to see. Letting go of Kyle and keeping John. That seems like the least likely scenario for me. The more likely outcome where one is kept and one is let go strikes me as the Kyle is kept because of the offensive genius label, the play designer that we all know. And Lynch is let go because he, couldn't fill the roster, couldn't provide enough talent, was instrumental in making some of these decisions that hindsight has revealed to be foolish, banking on Jason Verrett, banking on Mostert, not getting sufficient depth on the team, riding with a very expensive starting quarterback who's certainly not lived up to what he's being paid while investing so much in a rookie. All of these things you could point to John Lynch for. So to me, that's the most likely scenario. But I get the logic of they came in together. If they're leaving, pack their bags and send them on vacation together. I get the logic, Jamie, for sure. Persist Bro coming in. We need to trade Jed ASAP. The contract extension for Kyle and John are a good reason. If you could trade an owner, I don't know if you'd get anything for Jed York at this point, right? Who's trading for Jed York? But you can't trade an owner. You can't even fire him unless Denise DeBartolo York steps in and says, you know what? I'm taking the reins on this bad boy. Come in, riding in like the savior. Or if the NFL forgave Eddie D. Either of those would be acceptable to me. I think the fan base would gladly pay for whatever lawyer is needed to argue the case in front of the NFL to get Eddie D reinstated. Let's start a GoFundMe page. Forget this Fire Jed York banner that we fly above the stadium. That's useless. Let's pay for legal counsel to get Eddie D forgiven by the NFL. Somebody start the GoFundMe now. Niner Faithful coming in. If we end up with another losing season, we seriously need to start over in the front office and start by replacing Parag Marath. I don't actually know his level of contribution, and I don't know that many beat writers have been able to uncover a great deal. We give him credit for many of the creative contracts he's put together. A lot of those have bitten us in the behind. A lot of those contracts that looked genius coming in, well, you could argue that the escape clauses he gave us ended up being useful, that we had to pull the parachute on them. But you wonder, with someone who seems obsessed with getting value, if he's not instrumental in pushing for a lot of these players that can be had at value prices, but then don't contribute to the roster. So I would be very interested to read a tell-all book that really explains what Parag's role within the organization has been and the level of influence that he's exuded, most importantly. If he's in Jed's ear and giving bad advice, he may need to go if he's got undue influence within the team. But I don't know that it's fair for me to say that because I can't point to specific evidence. Bryant coming in, Kyle and John came together. They can leave together feeling that way. Nick coming in. I was reading a bit on the Eddie D thing. He was only banned for owning a team for 1 year. It seems it was his choice to hand the team over. Wow, that's wild. I didn't know that, Nick. That is good info to have. Cancel the GoFundMe page. Cancel it. All we need to do is start calling Eddie D and convince him to come back. It seems the NFL would allow it. Manikov coming in, yelling at us as per usual. Rams got J.J. Watt, Von Miller, OBJ, and Aaron Donald. They have all-stars. The Niners? You do wonder. There have been all-star teams that were assembled. The Eagles did it at one point famously and fell flat on their face. It's fair to wonder if it will play out as an all-star team or if it will be a bunch of big personalities that don't necessarily get along together. It'll be an interesting case to study for the rest of the year. Sean Dunn, Rob, you are the best logic there is on YouTube, actual fan with a realistic approach to the reality, respect from a former STH 2012 to 2017. What is the fifth? STH, Sean, you got to clarify for me. I appreciate the compliment. First and foremost, let me say thank you. I take that as a genuine compliment. Totally appreciate it. Love it. I love doing this. I'm glad that people enjoy watching it as well. But I'm interested to know what you mean at the end of the statement coming from a former, what were you talking about there? Because I'm sure I'm just missing it with trying to stay current and read comments at the same time. Persistbro coming in. They need to get rid of this front office. I think a lot of people feeling that way. Bryant saying, I don't think Kyle or John are going anywhere anytime soon. I don't either. I think the most likely scenario is both are back next season. I don't think there'll be any mid-season firings this year. I do wonder if some assistant may lose their position at the end of the year. If you don't see improvement from the defense, could D'Amico Ryans be on the way out? Potentially. If you don't see progression from the offense, might Kyle want to bring in a more robust offensive coordinator than Mike McDaniel? It's possible. But I think the most likely scenario is that they keep this thing together and go for another run to see if they can't right the ship with everyone on board. Jesse coming in. Do you think Kyle should the two-quarterback system like he did? Should he run the two-quarterback system like he did against the Raiders in the preseason game? Might give our offense a spark. That would be fun to watch. I do worry about a true rotation, platooning quarterbacks in and out. That does mess with the rhythm of the game. If you get it right, it could go really special. It could be really special. It could go really well. If you get it wrong, it could produce an even more disjointed offense than we've seen to this point. I would rather see him work in Lance in those situational positions where my favorite is in between the 40s. If you get into a second and short in between the 40s in the middle of the field, bring in Lance for play action under center. It stresses the defense to the max. He has the arm to take a shot down the field. He has the legs to do play action bootleg around the corner, right? Roll him out to the wide side of the field, cut his reads in half, give him the ability to use his legs to extend the play. Good things will happen from there. Much better things than much more explosive plays than you're going to see from Jimmy Garoppolo in those very same situations, barring yards after the catch. Jamie saying, free Trey Lance, let the man play already. People want it in. People want it in. Persistbro wants to bring in Chardal. I like it. Swift Dog, 49er. What's up, Swift Dog? I'm calling it. 49ers pull out a surprise upset against the Rams. Go 49ers, positive vibes. Cheers to you, Swift Dog. Appreciate the positivity. I think it's absolutely within the realm of possibility, 49er faithful. Don't get the expectations up. But those hopes should be sky high. Just think of the level of talent this team has and realize that it can all come together at some point. Come on Friday. It is Friday. Saying, I think the biggest issue is the dumb losses. Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona, 2 times. We seem to have gotten away from our own identity in some of those games. We've had bonehead penalties. We've had turnovers galore. Agree, they all seem fixable. They do. Matt H., There's no reason we should use the cap as an excuse not to sign big-time free agents next year, especially if Jimmy G is gone. You and Grant Cohn just discussed how the cap can be manipulated just as the Rams do. That's true. That's true. You can go after big-name players. You can create a situation where you're backloading contracts significantly. Part of the issue, though, is that the 49ers have already begun to do that. What I meant to convey on Grant's show is that you have a lot of flexibility within the cap. It doesn't give you endless possibilities. You do have parameters you have to work within, but I agree with you that they could be doing significantly more in order to make big moves. They could get more done. They could have claimed OBJ if they wanted to. They could have made a push to sign him. Once it got to signing him, he probably wouldn't have wanted to come here. Come on Friday, all those games were winnable. Yes, they were. Straight no chaser says, what are the Niners fans' reasons for disliking Garoppolo besides the obvious injuries? Hasn't he played well when healthy? I think he's played inconsistently. Fans are frustrated because they now know his limitations. He plays a bit more like a game manager in that he fails to execute many explosive plays. He doesn't generate many gash plays, many plays where you get big chunks of yardage or shots for touchdowns. Those typically only happen on yards after the catch, and that seems more like a scheme than talent from the quarterback. But for a game manager, he commits an excessive number of turnovers. So I think that fans are merely frustrated with that, and that frustration has risen to untenable levels. That it's a bit unreasonable how frustrated fans have gotten, but it's because of continued play like that. All right, I'm going to get into the next topic and then come back over to the chat again for your interactions on it, and I'll try to get back through to some of those comments that you guys have in there that I may have missed in the meantime. Is Kyle concerning himself with the defense? From Kyle's post-game remarks, I got the sense that he is mostly hands-off with the defense. I didn't actually enjoy what he said there. I thought it was a little bit of shirking his responsibility as the head coach, that he deserves blame for the way in which the defense is performing, even if you place greater blame on DeMeco Ryans. You have to have some questions for Kyle. Should he be hands-off? And was there anything this week that gave us the impression that he's changing his mind about that? Should he change his mind about that? And if he did, is that just more stuff that he's piling onto his plate that is already overloaded with content, that already has too much on it? I heard some things from Kyle this week that led me to believe he may be leaning into the defense, and I think he should. I think that he needs to do a better job of empowering the people around him by working with them. So what I'm saying here seems contradictory to that. But by working with DeMeco Ryans, I think he has to then give a little more leeway to Mike McDaniel and allow Mike McDaniel to do more as the offensive coordinator, thus taking something off of Kyle's plate, allowing him to invest himself a bit more on the defensive side of the ball. Because if I'm being honest, aside from the penalties and the turnovers, the most concerning play is the lack of proper tackling technique, the execution on defense, and what, for at least a brief period against Arizona, struck me as a lack of effort, a lack. I really hesitate to call anyone out for having a lack of heart. But I asked that question as I was watching Arizona. I asked myself, and I believe I tweeted it, is the 49ers defense lacking heart right now? Now, I did feel they came back and showed some gumption, but I think it's fair for Kyle to lean into the defense this week. I'll be interested to know what you guys think about it. Karthik coming in. Hi, Rob. Do you think it will be a good for the 49ers to convince Jimmy to restructure his contract and could be a serviceable backup to Trey in the future? Yes and no. I think this is a reasonable strategy in that I think Jimmy would be a great backup. If you pay him accordingly, I'd love to have Jimmy G as the backup for this team. It is fair to wonder with the locker room dynamic, with some of the players that are still fans of Jimmy and without having shown great promise from the rookie, it's fair to wonder if there would be an awkward dynamic where if the rookie struggled, if Trey Lance struggled, that there might be some players still on Jimmy's team that try to drag him back into the starting role. That would be my worry. But as just an exercise of, is Jimmy a great backup quarterback? Absolutely. The NFL has very few serviceable backups. Colt McCoy did a hell of a job, and I would love to have that level of backup. You need someone who can come in, win a couple of games, play above their level for a couple of games in relief of the starter, and that fits the description of Jimmy G in my book. All right, Chester coming in. Jimmy's out. It's toxic to keep him around. Should have not done it this year. What I agree with there is that, yes, I agree with basically both of those premises. That, yes, Jimmy should be gone at the end of the year. It's time to move forward, unless he won the Super Bowl. Like, if we go on a magic ride, win the Super Bowl, great. Keep Jimmy for next year. Do whatever you want if that happens, because I'm bowing down at that point. If you go on a run like that, which, hey, it could happen, but let's be realistic and say that that's, not likely to run the table and run the Super Bowl. So yeah, I do think you get him out for next year, and I agree, it was a failed strategy going into this year. The logic was not sound to try and pay Jimmy his $27 million this year. Could have cut him, saved approximately $25 million. Could have brought in a suitable bridge quarterback, someone that is backup level, that when you have to move on from him, no fans, no one in the locker room is objecting to moving on from him. That would have been a better strategy. But hindsight is 2020. I have to admit that I bought into this strategy, hook, line, and sinker, when they executed it in the offseason. Persist Bro agrees. Kyle's got too much on his plate. Do you agree that he should then flex some of that, what he's already doing, not take on more, but flex out of the offense and into the defense? I'm curious to know, Persist Bro. Sean Dunn, the issue with Jimmy and the 49ers is he's being paid $26 million and we're not winning. Yes, that is one of several issues. It's the most glaring and most painful issue at this point, I think, if we're being honest about it. NorCal HVAC, how you doing today? It's Friday. Warming up my paper sack for Monday night at Levi's. You don't want to be seen on national television having paid good money to witness? Hey, the 49ers got a good shot in this one. Come on, we can do it. Stay positive. I'm trying to convince myself as much as I'm trying to convince you. Eric, what's up, Eric? Seems like Kyle started to lose the locker room with the Buckner trade. Then continued that trend with the handling of Jimmy G as football moves. These were questionable. Total fail on the human element. I agree. John and Kyle vastly underestimated the human element in losing leadership, having sadly had to let Joe Staley retire as health dictated. That was your biggest leader, biggest personality in the locker room. You were going to suffer from that loss of leadership. And then on top of that, you're going to lose DeForest Buckner, the guy that Joe Staley literally called on the phone to tell, hey, I'm leaving, I'm retiring, I'm handing over the reins to you, only for DeForest to be like, hey, I'm sorry, man, but I just got traded. I'm not on the team either. To lose those two leaders, I don't think that they realized what they gave up in that one season, and the void has been there since. Now, it's a void that exists. Therefore, there are players who can step up and fill it, and that's what's needed for the rest of the season. Leaders have to be made in this high-tension environment. Ellis 10 coming in at straight no chaser. Schuh called it about Jimmy G. He has shown his ceiling. He can't hit wide open wide receivers in the middle of the field. Sadly, you rarely see him throw accurately outside the numbers. He does struggle outside the numbers and oftentimes misses high over the inside in the center of the field. And when those balls get tipped off wide receivers' hands, they are free gifts to the safety sitting behind the play. You know, it's coming at him in slow motion. So many of those interceptions have been off of guys' hands. And in crossers over the middle, he has a tendency to put it a bit high and a bit behind, where a wide receiver, yes, it hits him on the hands. Yes, a wide receiver in the NFL should catch a ball that hits them in the hands. But a poorly placed throw like that over the middle, very challenging to reach back across the body while going full speed in the other direction, knowing that you have a defender that now you can't see because you're looking behind you when the defender is in front of you. Very challenging. Ellis calls it out straight here that Jimmy has his limitations, and we very much know what those are. Chester is embarrassed by the paper bag territory that we are in. Yes, 49ers fans should be embarrassed that we are there. Ben saying Jimmy will be a great backup somewhere else. This team needs new blood. The old stale players need to go. I think that's fair, Ben, that it's time for new blood. You've got to change something. You have to change something. I believe Dimitri's saying here, no, Kyle should not concern himself with the defense. Stay focused on the offense. Lapaka Lolo, how you doing? Again, Kyle is not the leader. He does not empower his people, does not listen, and blames others for his failures. Sounds like my old general manager. LOL. Lapaka Lolo, I feel bad for you if you worked for someone that has that type of an attitude. And when Kyle doesn't take responsibility, I feel bad for the players. I prefer a leader much like John Harbaugh last night. After that loss, got embarrassed on Thursday Night Football. Did he come out and point to failings of the defense? He certainly could have. That defense gave up atrocious missed assignments in the secondary. It was embarrassing to watch the wide open wide receivers streaking down the field with no one but a safety trailing, trying to catch up. But the first thing John says in the press conference when he steps in front of the microphone is own it. He says, we were not prepared to play tonight, and that's on me. That is so refreshing if you are the players to hear that. That is a shield out in front of you, deflecting the negativity that is sure to come after a loss like that. And it's just not a strong suit for Kyle Shanahan. I'm not saying he can't grow in this area. I'm not saying he won't change. But he is stubborn, and the ego does get in the way. And it feels like the area he needs to accept, he has to change. Without acceptance, I don't know that we'll get there. NorCal Refrigeration, there was no QB in the draft worth trading up for. It was a panic move. It does make you wonder. Reports now say that someone else, Atlanta, may have taken Lance if we didn't, that Atlanta may have taken him at 4. Who knows if there's any validity to that? These reports come out, and there's oftentimes a report contradicting that, and you just have to parse them together and see which one makes the most sense to you, which one's the most logical conclusion. But it is fair to say that potentially the value in this draft would have been staying put. It appears that the Patriots executed the best plan for this year by doing just that. It is fair to wonder if when the future is written 5 years from now, whether we'll be able to say the trade up for Lance was absolutely worth it. Because let's be honest, the only thing that has to happen is Lance turns into a good quarterback, and we will forget all of this pain that we experienced this season. It will all have been worth it if we did find our next franchise quarterback for a decade. If we don't, it'll be very painful. Have to agree with that. Nick coming in, Super Bowl win for the 49ers. Better chance of seeing a flying pig. LOL. Man, that's painful. Nick is over across the pond, and he's not optimistic at this point. And let's be honest, I'm having to drag myself to an optimistic point, but I think I'm there. I think I have successfully pulled myself over the line. Paul Perryman, Paul, how you doing? Jimmy G is like a salesman who hits his number half the time. Not good enough to be happy with, but not bad enough to fire or bench in Jimmy's case. Yes, very much middle of the road. Oh, Sean, season ticket holder. I was unfamiliar with that abbreviation. Yes, season ticket holder. Your opinion should matter to this organization. You are their primary customer. I am too. I buy a ton of gear. No question about it. I try to go to a lot of games, even though many of those aren't home games. My bucket list is to hit every stadium in the NFL. That's what this national map is here. It has pins in it of the stadiums that I've been to. When people see a close-up, they're like, well, you still have the Raiders in Oakland. No, that's just because I went to the stadium in Oakland. I've yet to go to Las Vegas yet. But yeah, we spend hard-earned money. We are their customer, and they better be aware of where we're at as customers and how fed up the fan base is. All right. M something. This is just Alex Smith Cap 2.0. Well, hopefully it turns out with some bright spots the way in which Kaepernick did, but hopefully it ends better. Chester Gray. No, it's not Jimmy, isn't Alex. That's a good call out. I am an Alex Smith fan, and man, that Saints playoff game was so special. Although so was the Saints game in New Orleans in 2019. I was at both of those Saints games in the stands, and both are some of my fondest memories as a 49er fan. So I'm grateful to both Alex Smith and Jimmy G for those performances. Talal coming in. Marv Levy was a good coach, but unlucky. I'm afraid Kyle might be unlucky too. To this point, the results are not promising. They're very mixed. But let's not forget the 2019 season. Let's not call it an anomaly. Let me get my foot out of my mouth. It happened, and it was really special, and we should be grateful for it. I know it didn't end in a championship, and we've moved on to this championship or bust mentality as a society. But that's wrong. Let's be frank about that winning the NFC championship means something. Going to the Super Bowl means something. I was there. I have positive memories to show for it. Rich coming in. They made Jimmy G a $26 million lame duck. Yes, that was a failed strategy from the outset. That was a failure in the offseason. Sean Dunn back in. The only time leadership is ever brought up is when you are losing. Winning, all anyone talks about is who the stars are and how good they are coached. Flawed narrative, to be honest. Play better. That's an interesting take on it. I do think that leadership, confidence play into those stars executing. I think the reason you start to talk about it is because leadership is needed when losses accumulate. Winning solves everything in and of itself. You don't need people to celebrate, to step up and say, oh, we won because of me. That isn't needed. But when you lose, there's enough daggers pointed at the team that I do think it's fair to begin the leadership conversation. But I agree that the bottom line here is those leaders, those players, those stars, they all need to play better. So I think Sean is spot on that one. Chester rightly calls out, there's been some bad luck involved. The ball has bounced poorly for the 49ers so far. No question. Karthik coming in, he's upset. You can never win games consistently with a quarterback getting paid like Jimmy. Well, you can if they warrant the money, but it's fair to say Jimmy is being paid like a much better quarterback. Jacob Gutierrez, what's up, Jacob? Good to see you. I would love to see the rookies, Lenoir and Thomas, instead of Norman and Kirkpatrick. What's your take in regards to the secondary? I was on the fence of getting Josh Norman out of here. I know that seems like an overreaction. I thought that would be the appropriate course of action. I thought that the 49ers should have sent a message with that one. I get that it would have been a panic type of message, but it also sends a message of what you will and won't tolerate when it comes to boneheaded plays. That would have been the move for me. And then you're left with Lenoir coming in and filling in. I know he should be more of a nickel cornerback. That's what they had in mind for him, but he has played serviceably on the outside. And Kirkpatrick, yeah, I think that before having Kirkpatrick in there, I would rather see Ambry Thomas, but I get it. The 49ers are still pursuing the playoffs at this point. All right, let's get into my next topic before getting back into the comments. Going over to where was I wrong in my expectations? Clearly, the 2021 Niners team's not performing as I expected them to prior to the start of the season. And I wanted to logically work through a couple of the reasons why. And I'll be interested to get back into the comments and see what your thinking is on why the 49ers haven't lived up to our expectations. And maybe you had the appropriate expectations. Maybe you saw the flaw in the logic to begin with, and you appropriately guessed that this 49ers team would be more middle of the road, one that struggled quite a bit. To me, there were a lot of players that I guess I assumed would take the next step. Ebukam would be the epitome of that for me. You're talking about a guy who, coming from the Rams, had a smaller role with the team, showed flashes of what he could bring to the table, but wasn't asked to do a whole heck of a lot. The 49ers bring him in and give him a reasonably expensive 2-year contract for 2 years for, I believe it was $12 million. more than other players who had similar statistical seasons prior were getting in free agency. So they saw something there. And that led me to believe that Ebukam would have an increased role within the offense, within the defense. He would contribute, and that we would get more out of him than we have to this point. I was clearly wrong about that. I also assumed that while it was a bad strategy to base your hopes around guys that have long injury histories, guys such as Jason Verrett and Raheem Mostert, I think that there was no way to assume that they would go down in week frickin' 1. That is unpredictable, right? Even if you said to yourself, these guys are injury prone, they're probably going to miss some games. Did you really predict that they would have season-ending injuries on week 1? That to me is, I may have accounted for missing 4 or 5 games from each of those guys. I may have built that into my expectations. I did not see this coming. And that to me was the biggest flaw. That and the 2-quarterback system, saying that we could go into the year and ride 2 boats. Ride 2 boats that are drifting further apart by the day, and that we wouldn't get stranded and fall into the drink in between them. It is rough. So I was wrong in many of my expectations. I wonder what you guys are saying about that as well. All right, I'm going to get back into the comments to get your thoughts on that very, very subject. All right, Paul Perryman coming in. I didn't see a great team with Jimmy, so didn't really have a disappointment. The biggest disappointment is losing like this without developing Trey or the other rookies. That's an interesting perspective, because now you're talking about, hey, I saw that this team had its flaws. I didn't expect the Super Bowl contention this year, but what I did expect was we invested quite a bit in some rookies that you thought would contribute this year, or not, if not contribute, would at least get enough playing time to develop. And to this point in the season, the strategy has been so desperate to chase the playoffs that they have sacrificed that development for the young players, not even giving them the snaps on the field to really prove whether they warrant more playing time or not. That's the strangest part. If we saw them play, watch them struggle with our own eyes, it would make more sense that they didn't get back in. But in my humble opinion, and feel free to voice it if you feel differently, from what we've seen of these rookies, I thought they flashed something. I thought they flashed enough to get more playing time. And instead of doing that, the 49ers have reverted to a lot of veterans, and a lot of veterans that are not progressing as players. It's wild to me a little bit. All right, Gabriel coming in. Rob, New England always picks polished players. I want to have a draft where we draft athletes and players that are sound technically. That would be great. To this point, the jury's still out on this draft class, but it does seem that we took a lot of unfinished players. Players that needed development in a season that we were unwilling to invest significant time in developing them because, again, we are pursuing the playoffs with a fervor. And the coach and the GM apparently to this point believe the best way to pursue that strategy is by playing the veterans. The rookies are getting the short end of the stick, and you hope that's not going to be detrimental to our success in 2022, but it's fair to wonder if it will be. If you do not get playing time this year, how much are you going to improve going into next season? Ellis 10 comes in. I want to see Kyle Shanahan get in the players' faces a little more. I don't mean disrespectfully, but the boneheaded penalties are killing them. When Singletary ripped Vernon Davis, it was classic. The only thing I would contradict is I don't know that that's true to form for Kyle, and I wouldn't want him to do anything that isn't him. He's gotta be true to himself because he's got to be genuine. If it's not genuine, then you're just being negative for negative's sake, and that could divide the team even more. But I get what you're saying here. There needs to be accountability, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. There has to be accountability on this team. It has to start at the top. It has to start with the leaders within the team, players themselves, and it certainly has to come from the coaching staff and John Lynch and Jed York as well. Nick coming in talking about expectations. My expectations were way too high. You and me both, Nick. Nick goes on to say, got sucked into the offensive genius and new quarterback and got overexcited. Me too. I came in with optimism. I still have optimism, but for a different outcome. I came in believing and hoping for a 13-4 season, a legitimate shot to get Trey Lance to a point where he could contribute to the offense in a playoff push, that we would have a quarterback operating that no one had tape on, and that the 49ers would be able to leverage that lack of defensive tape on their young quarterback to make a run and potentially be the first team to win a Super Bowl with a rookie starting quarterback as he takes one of his first 5 starts, right? I mean, I sold myself on an unrealistic outcome. That was my pipe dream at the beginning of the season. And worst case, I thought to myself, well, Jimmy will get us to the playoffs. Jimmy can play consistently like that. And Jimmy has played reasonably consistency, but the rest of the team hasn't. And I just wasn't expecting it. Sean Dunn. Rob, sad to say, but injuries. Oof. Verrett and Mostert, game 1. Greenlaw. That's a big one that we don't often think about. He continues. Gold, Wilson Jr., Kittle. Like, what the F? What other teams have that issue? No coincidence. Seattle's 3-5 without Wilson. Yeah, 49ers fans don't want to hear the excuse of injuries, but it's a reason as well as an excuse. You do have to acknowledge it. Now you have to fix it. You have to say the injuries were and continue to be an issue. What can we do as an organization to fix that issue and right the ship? To this point, they have had no answers. Sean Dunn points out Rams, no injuries, and 7-2. Gabriel coming in. A mix of athletes and technical players is a good mix. Yes, to get in some technical players and draft some athletes. Best player available. Best athletes on the field. A lot of teams are doing that. Arizona has done that on the defensive side of the ball. Drafted a lot of natural athletes, and it's working out for them to this point. Heredia comes in and asks, maybe Heredia. Let me know if I mispronounce it. I hate to do that. What if 49ers beat the Rams? You think our power ranking goes up? Absolutely. I think if they beat the Rams, people start to get to the narrative of, well, we knew this was a talented team and they weren't putting it all together. People will start to wonder, is this the precipice of a change for the 49ers? I will start to wonder that because I still do believe that a light switch could come on. I'm no longer expecting it, but I'm still hoping for it. No question, I am still hoping for it. Chester says, we keep on having our starters we depend on go down. It's very hard. It is very hard. Chester then points out, if we beat the Rams, we're going to spend a week in delusions. Yeah, much like the reaction after the Bears game, many 49ers fans, got very excited by that outcome, predicted it was the time where the 49ers would begin to round the corner for the season, and then we had an embarrassment, a real embarrassment by the 49ers. Ellis, talking to Heredia, if the 49ers beat the Rams super team on Monday Night Football, it will change everything. Maybe their swag will come back. Don't discount the importance of confidence, people. Players that play confidently, that play fast, that play downhill have a significant impact on the game. And I think you're seeing hesitancy, in particular from the linebackers on defense. They are not attacking the ball. They are not playing downhill. They are not playing confident. The defense, in particular, needs its confidence back, and a win against the Rams might do that. Sean Dunn says, Kyle counts on his starters so much in an offseason and OTA. If they go down, his plan goes down. If the defense is not top 5, getting 3 and outs and keeping the game close, we're in trouble. It's an interesting take to say that Kyle has a stubborn nature, stubborn streak, wherein he doesn't play the young players, sticks with the starters, gives them all of the practice reps. And that strategy in and of itself prepares the rookies and young players less than it would if he were spreading out those reps. You could argue the converse, which is the 49ers need every rep going to the starters because look at their consistency to this point. They are committing penalties, turnovers, the things that an undisciplined football team does, you would think that means they need greater structured practice time. So you can apply either angle of logic to it, but Sean, I like the logic you're using there. Chester say putting off getting to see if Lance can play. Also putting off getting to see if Lance can play. Yeah, when Lance comes in, the clock starts. People will want to see progression. If he comes in and doesn't do well and really sows doubt, seeds of doubt among the faithful, that's a darker outcome for the season than just losing with Jimmy. So I'd like to avoid that. I want to put Trey Lance in the best situation to be successful. No question about it. Gabriel coming in. Kyle's scared Trey will bust. I don't blame him because Kyle doesn't believe in himself. I can agree that the confidence is shaky at this point in time, but with Kyle's ego, I struggle to say he doesn't believe in himself. I think he does believe in himself. He's just not confident at the moment. His ego seems to indicate that he believes in himself. That I would say that. But Gabriel points out, if that is true, you can't have a coach like that. Nick coming in. The draft thing is you then only have to look at the Cardinals. They have a bunch of injuries, but winning. Yeah, that's fair that good teams overcome injuries. Good teams are able to play through them. The 2019 49ers were able to play through significant injuries and still come up with what was an amazing season. No question about it. Straight no chaser. The 49ers in the best division in football and the only team in that division without a top 10 quarterback. That makes it real hard to win. That makes it real hard to win. You've got 6 games up against elite competition, a quarterback that plays a bit more like a game manager, but a game manager who commits costly turnovers. I agree. That's a big factor in the difference. I thought that the defense would be enough to contradict that, to counteract those factors. And so far, it hasn't. A couple of weeks, it has flashed greatness, but man, there have been some real letdown games by that defense. I think 49ers fans would agree. All right, I'm going to get back into one of my topics and come back in for your thoughts on it. How many of these rookies need to pan out? It's fair to say that one so far of the 49ers' 8 draft picks is a clear-cut win for the team. Elijah Mitchell. The 49ers found a 6th-round gem, and I don't think anybody can dispute it. Elijah Mitchell has played lights out to this point. He looks like a steal. He looks like he could be something that the 49ers ride for his entire rookie contract. He may get a second deal. It's early, but I'm optimistic. But that leaves 7 rookies that we have questions about. 6 of those 8 rookies in week 9 of the season, 6 of those 8 rookies didn't play a single snap on offense or defense. Talanoa Hufanga was in there on defense because of the injury to Jaquiski Tart, and Elijah Mitchell was in there because he's the best running back we have on the team. So 1 played because of injury, 1 played because he's the most talented at that position. Then you had Ambry Thomas played some special teams, which is great. I'm glad to see Ambry Thomas in uniform because that means there's a chance of getting him out on the field. That's a first step. But other than Elijah Mitchell, the jury is definitely still out. It's very concerning for 49ers fans because you have players like Aaron Banks, an interior lineman taken in the 2nd round. The expectation there has to be that you are drafting a starting caliber player. In particular, when, yes, I will concede that Daniel Brunskill up through last season had played, let's say, average football. So I concede that, yes, he needs to play well enough to beat out an average NFL starter based on Brunskill's track record. But what Daniel Brunskill has put on tape so far this season, I think most 49ers fans would agree, if they don't label it as atrocious, they would at least agree that it has been unacceptable level of play, not what you need at the position. So for that to be true and still not be able to turn the reins over to Aaron Banks, I do think it's fair to take a shot at the organization for having missed there. It may still turn out well. The 49ers could still develop Banks. John Lynch recently came out and said that Banks is showing things. Shanahan either feels the same way or felt pressured into saying something because of Lynch's statements, but said very much the same thing, that this is finally the week where they get a sense, the last couple, that Aaron Banks is pushing for that position. And that's the language that you expect to hear before he claims the role. You may not hear that he's claimed it. It may just be that he starts one of these weeks because Shanahan doesn't like to give away information to opposing defenses. So he's not going to tell you before Aaron Banks comes in. It'll be a surprise one of these days. But until we see him, we can't truly judge. We can judge on the fact that he's not playing right now, and where you drafted him, it's fair to criticize. Another one that's fair to criticize is Trey Sermon. To draft a running back, which is a position that has been devalued within the NFL, to draft a running back in the third round is a reasonably high position to draft a running back. Those are typically running backs you expect to contribute on the team, to have a role from the outset. You may not trust them as rookies on third down with pass protection. Oftentimes that is a role that's reserved for veteran players who understand the offense, who know what they're looking for when blitzes are coming, because it's a critical position. You can't allow your quarterback to get blindsided by a blitzer coming off the edge. It's a very important role. So I understand why Trey Sermon hasn't earned that, but to not give him any snaps, to have moved up, traded up to select him, obviously, there's something that went wrong along the lines. He was given so many starting snaps in camp that I think it's disingenuous of Kyle and John Lynch to play down the fact that Trey Sermon isn't getting snaps. To say, well, just Elijah beat him out at the end. But why did you give him so many first-team reps throughout training camp if Elijah was gaining ground and won the position? At no point during the preseason was it clear that Elijah had beaten out Trey Sermon. They seem to want to give Trey the chance. And so I think it's more about Trey Sermon's lack of development than it is about Elijah Mitchell's development. But I'm not criticizing Elijah. I'm a big fan. Just want to make sure that we get Trey involved as well. Speaking of Treys, what is fair to say, I think you could answer this question that I've posed here. How many rookies need to pan out? One. And it's not Elijah Mitchell. If Trey Lance becomes a star, draft class was fine. If he becomes a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, it won't matter how many first-round picks we traded away. It won't matter that other players in this draft struggled. If you walk out of here with Trey becoming a star, and like I said earlier, we already saw what we're getting from Elijah Mitchell. If you've got Trey and Elijah Mitchell playing at elite levels, this draft class absolutely panned out. Now, you'd like to see more. You'd like to see Aaron Banks contribute. You'd like to see Trey Sermon be a bit more of a complementary role, thunder and lightning, even if he's not elite, even if he's more of a Tevin Coleman type of contributor, even if the value of where you took him doesn't match up with what you're getting, you need to see something. The cornerback room is devoid of talent, save for the journeyman vets. You expect to see something from one of the guys you draft. If one of those two shows something, if Aaron Banks can get the starting role, even if he's not an elite starter, if he can earn the starting role, if Trey Sermon becomes a complimentary back, if Elijah Mitchell stays the lead back, and if Trey flashes potential, all of a sudden, this draft class turns around and I get optimistic. I want to see if there's optimism for the faithful as well. All right, let's see what your thoughts are about the roster and the rookies. I'm trying to find responses to the rookies here before I get into your other. Okay, Eric is on my page here. Trey needs to pan out. If he does, and the rest don't, it'll be fine. If he doesn't, the rest could ball out. And again, it would not, I'm thinking he says, matter. The only thing that I disagree is that you could have a scenario where all 7 of the others ball out and you find a suitable, average level quarterback if Trey Lance didn't. I got faith. I got faith in Trey Lance. I see something special there. But if you get significant contributions, it could be balanced out. Emotionally, no, it would be a loss. It only matters, and yes, Eric did mean matter. He corrects himself there. I love it when people correct their own typos. Yes, it does. It falls on Trey Lance's shoulders. It for sure does. Gabriel pointing out Hufanga is a good culture guy. He's running around. One of the only players on defense. Now, he's out of position sometimes, and that's unfortunate. But he's one of the players that is running around on defense with his hair on fire. More of the players need to draw inspiration from that. I have to agree. Karthik coming in. Is it a good time for Kyle to start Trey Lance against the Jags? I think definitely. I think it depends. Yes, that seems like a good matchup. I would love to start him against the Jags, and then I think you get another reasonably easy game the next week. Is it the Vikings the following week? Anyway, it's not an elite team that we're going up against after the Jaguars. So timing-wise, I get it. I think we're mired in this chase for the playoffs, though. Kyle Shanahan is dead set on staying relevant. And maybe he needs to be. Maybe he would start to lose the 49ers locker room. There are a lot of guys on one-year deals. Those guys are looking to earn more money in their playing careers, and they're looking to win. If you acknowledge the season's a lost cause and you move on from some of those players, in order to start some of the young guys, you have to actually sit some of the dudes that are on one-year deals. I wonder if the locker room becomes a bit disjointed at that point. But it's a reality we're going to have to face. This season is not turning out as we had all hoped, certainly not in the way I had hoped. Gabriel's coming in talking about Harbaugh. You know that's getting my attention. Harbaugh, attention to the players' strengths was impressive. Harbaugh was able to put players in a position to be successful, and they ran through brick walls for him. Edward, I don't know if I've had a comment from Edward before that I've read out. So hello, Edward. Welcome. Beyond me why they didn't get a cornerback, Samuels, but at least be a starter guard. Yeah, I predicted that they would address interior line before they did cornerback. I actually made a wager with Grant Cohn about that and have never collected on it. But at some point, I will definitely remind that bet. But I don't want to collect on it at this point because it turned out to be a flawed strategy. Yes, they did what I expected them to do in addressing interior line first. It was a mistake. It was a mistake that I would have made, so I can't roundly criticize them. But in hindsight, Edward, if you were feeling that way when it happened, you were correct. You were absolutely correct. Straight no chaser. I appreciate that. Calling out everybody, throw Rob a like on the stream. It does mean a great deal to me. If you like the content, I do welcome you to like the content. Liking and subscribing does a world of good for me. Like I said on my last stream, I see myself as a little pirate radio station. If you're old like I am, you remember Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. I see myself talking hard like Christian Slater and Pump Up the Volume. Yes, every like that you put out there, every subscription to the channel, those things cost you nothing, but they amplify my signal out there, and I truly appreciate those that do. Thank you. Gabriel coming in, bring back Tart and K1, so that way we can use our picks on outside cornerback. I think a lot of fans may be hesitant on the Jaquiski Tart move because of the injury history, and that would be my only trepidation in bringing him back. I agree. K'Wan Williams plays at a high level. I wonder if he'll be looking for his last multi-year contract and if the Niners would then get trapped into a few years at the end of the deal that his play drops off, because K'Wan is a little bit older. So those are the concerns I have with those two. Would be Tart, injury history, K'Wan a little less on the injury history, but does tend to miss a couple of games each year. But on the age and speed as that drops off, that could be my concern with those two. But agree that those would fill two big needs and allow the 49ers to build in other ways using their draft capital to fill the rest of the holes. True, smooth trucking. Rob, when Kyle was asked about leadership, he pretty much said we're looking to find the guy to get our A players playing like A players. I heard him say that too. Smooth goes on to say, he then says, and that starts with me. What do you think? Okay, so I'm harsh on Kyle, but I have said this on other streams, and I should have been repeating it. Every time that I get down on Kyle, I should repeat the things that I still believe in and the positives that I see, because I take for granted that you'll know, that's my feeling. But no, I need to express that. So I agree with Smooth Trucking here that There are signs from Kyle that he could be improving here. And I'm a person who believes heavily in development. I've made a career out of leadership development, helping other people maximize their own value to companies, maximize their ability as leaders, teach them about servant leadership, teach them about empowering the people that work for them, about doing everything in your power to make the people that work for you successful, because the people that work for you, their success is your success, quite literally. If you're a manager, a director, a CEO, the people that work under you, if they're successful, you are successful. So I get on Kyle for that without acknowledging I'm seeing some things that I like. And that starts with me. He said it a couple of times. It's still not his default. It's still not the first thing he says. He still tends to give some excuses and point some fingers that could be interpreted as assigning blame. But yes, I'm seeing some very positive things. Paul, coming in. Everything really hinges on Trey. If he hits, Kyle's a genius. And if he flops, Jed is looking for new people to run his football team. I tend to agree. And I think you have to say that he's probably going to get the remainder of this year. And barring some type of really bad finish, you would have to think that he would get next year as well. Jed bought into this plan of developing a young quarterback who had next to no experience and played at a level in college where the opposing teams didn't have NFL caliber talent for the most part. So Jed bought into a long-term strategy. It would be counterintuitive of Jed to bail at this point. It would mean that he has now seen something that caused him to reverse course. That wouldn't be good. Edward pointing out, I think you're talking about Aaron Banks, probably can't protect the quarterback. But it is fair to question, can Brunskill? Can Brunskill? If that is, in fact, what you meant, Edward. Don't mean to put words in your mouth. NorCal Refrigeration and HVAC, Niners need to rebuild the O-line. Trey will have a rough go at it with that line. We will need a left guard. He's leveling. Center, right guard, right tackle. I agree with that. I'm still a Laken Tomlinson fan, but it doesn't appear that he's in the future plans for the 49ers. They haven't extended him. His contract is coming to a close. It is fair to wonder if he is leveling or on the decline. To me, his play is still at a place that there are so many other gaps on the line. You almost have to keep him in place so that the left side is stable and then work on the other patches, then come back and address the left guard position. I think the other ones are more glaring and therefore address center, right guard, right tackle first. I'm okay with McGlinchey coming back, assuming that he comes back from the injury. That to me is the big question mark. Sean Doon, Rams must be giggling about the draft. They don't even show up on draft day while we have one pick playing for us, Mitchell. Yet they gained Stafford and Ramsey the last 2 years. You have to say, to this point, the Rams strategy is keeping them relevant. It's keeping their fan base involved. It's giving them a true shot at the playoffs and at the Super Bowl. Hats off to them for executing a very aggressive strategy to this point. Could it blow up? Yes, absolutely. Might they have to disassemble this entire team that they have put together? Yes. Might they have too many big personalities in the locker room and experience a complete meltdown the rest of the season? Yes. So far, it isn't happening, though. So far, it's paying dividends for them. The aggression is paying off. This aggression will not stand, man, to quote the dude. Karthik coming in. Trey needs to pan out or Jed's head is cut off. I don't know who can cut off Jed's head unless Denise comes back in. John York, maybe. Jamie coming in, talking to me. I'll say 2 Trey day on Sunday. 2 Trey day on Sunday. I like it. Both Treys play. He says Trey Sermon and Trey Lance. Double touchdowns. Boom. Jamie Bryant predicting the big influence from the rookies, the first and the third rounder contributing in a victory. I hope that's a prediction for a victory with 2 touchdowns from the double touchdowns of the double Treys. That's got to be in a win, right? So I like the big, bold prediction by Jamie. You heard it here first. Admin Honor coming in. I believe that's the first comment. What's up, Admin? How you doing? Lance needs Jim Harbaugh as GM. I am afraid that we have burned the bridge with Mr. Harbaugh. As much as I love the Harbaugh family, I don't know that he's coming back. Maybe an apology would bring him back in. It's fair to wonder if Jed ate his ego and said, Jim, Samson, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I don't know. I'd be happy with him back. But I'm not giving up on Coach Shanahan either. I think he can still turn it around. But I get fans' frustrations. Straight no chaser. Is it concerning that Trey Lance is a project out of the gate or an advantage? The others thrown into the fire this year have been bad. But sitting has the potential of being another Jordan Love. But Jordan Love has not had a fantastic showing to this point. So was that false hope and then letting us down there, straight no chaser? Because that's how I felt after reading that comment. But maybe you meant it as more genuine hope. What I will say is that the jury's obviously still out on Trey Lance. And we've got to pin our hopes on his ability to progress. Edward coming in, not sure why rookies aren't playing. Injuries, only reason. Coach says bench till out of playoffs. Rookies likely got 2 to 3 wins in half a season. I would agree that it seems we're not going to devote significant playing time to the rookies until we are mathematically eliminated, and that will be a long time, and that's costing people valuable progression in this season. Got to get the rookies involved even while we fight for the playoffs, in my opinion. Come on, Friday. Rookies, I think, overall have played great. I mean, I understand that most of these rookies are behind a starting vet. I think the corners will play more the back half of the season. I hope you're right about that. From what we've seen players come in, I would agree that they've played well, but I think the evidence suggests because they're not playing that those other ones have not. We won't know for certain until they get on the field, but it does seem as if they are underperforming to this point. Edward coming in talking about if winning 5-4, I understand, but 3-5, it's ridiculous. Rookies aren't playing. That is fair. If it were the reverse, if the Niners were, let's say they were 5-3 instead of 3-5, you could then argue, hey, they're in the thick of it. They're really challenging for the playoffs. They're winning. And so it's reasonable that you're not trusting the rookies. They're there to get snaps as the season goes on. And hell, maybe they'll add value and cause even more wins for the 49ers. But you get to this point, fans start asking questions. Fans want answers, and the rookies provide that glimmer of hope, but the 49ers seem unwilling to give us that hope. Chester, Kyle was ready to cuss the reporters out due to excessive trade questions. That one is wild to me because you had to know that these questions were coming. You created a scenario that lent itself towards these questions. They're reasonable questions. It's not as if, now don't get me wrong, we are, as fans, we're beating a dead horse. We want to know, rightfully, what's going on with all these rookies that aren't playing. But they're fair questions, and we are the customer. And I've been told, as a guy who's worked in a lot of sales organizations, the customer is always right. Typically, you want to listen to that feedback that you're getting, or you won't have as many customers. I think Jed's almost at that precipice. I think he does have to have an ear to the organization, an ear to the fan base, because the fan base is getting loud. The fan base is getting upset. The fan base wants hope. They want brightness for the future. They were deceived coming into this season. It feels almost insurmountable at this point. Some of us have convinced ourselves that we should still have optimism, but many 49er faithful are the opposite end of the spectrum. They've given up hope on the season. I do think Jed has to be very cognizant of that. He's the owner of the organization. His money is reliant on butts in the seats. Sean Dunn coming in. Trey Lance. He is technically the first-round pick for the next 3 years. He must be great or Shanny and Lynch are toast. Hold back Lance and keep their jobs safer. Get more pieces with Jimmy G's $26 million. That's a very real possibility that Shanahan and Lynch know their fates are tied to the progression of Trey Lance. They may truly believe he's not ready at this point, and if we put him out there, it's going to make us look bad. It's going to make us look bad for having drafted him, for having given up so much to get an inexperienced player. It's going to reflect poorly on the front office and the coaching staff if we put Lance in and he really struggles. They may be shying away from that. They may truly believe that he just needs more practice reps and that he'll get in by the end of the year. They may truly believe they have a shot at the playoffs. And at one game out, maybe they do. Maybe they do. Nick, I don't think we will see Lance until the Texans, especially if we stay only one game out from the wild card. Agree wholeheartedly, Nick. If we're only one game out of the wild card, I think we continue the Jimmy train. One game out of the wild card, as crazy as it could seem to some faithful that have lost hope, one game out of the wild card is still in the playoff hunt. Making the playoffs does matter. Getting into the playoffs, even if you're one and done, getting that experience, getting that positivity, the fan base, getting to watch a playoff game, damn, that means something. And I got to disagree with anyone who thinks that that's meaningless or counteractive to progression as an organization. Got to make the playoffs. Got to set a winning culture. It's why we're so angry at Kyle Shanahan. It's 3 out of 4 losing seasons looking like potentially 4 out of 5. You need to have the winning seasons. You got to have a track record of success. Paul Perryman, multiple people from the 49ers have mentioned Kyle making the playoffs after a 3-6 start. Sad to say that a loss after this week doesn't mean they start Trey. Paul has hit the nail on the head with that one. If the 49ers were to lose to the Rams on Monday night, I predict that several people would use that statement that, yes, Kyle Shanahan, I think it was 2013, 2012, whatever it was, with the Washington football team with RG3, they started out 3-6. He started lighting the world on fire. They turned around and made the playoffs. We have a rookie quarterback that could, catch fire himself, seems to have all the physical traits to be an explosive player. Could it happen here? Yes. Will I want to hear that if we do lose to the Rams? No, I will not want to hear about the 3-16 that made the playoffs. Admin, Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback and developed both Andrew Luck and Kaepernick. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Sean Dunn, Shanahan can't play Trey right now. Jimmy G has no value, so let him get killed with Tom Compton. No reason for Trey to run for his life. I would agree. Don't put Trey in if there is a chance that he's just going to get walloped like he did running the ball 16 times when he came in against Arizona. Please do not let me witness another game like that. If that's the offense you think you need to run when Trey Lance is in the game, then okay. Continue to put Jimmy in there until you feel confident enough to run the San Francisco 49ers offense, the Kyle Shanahan offense. Until you get to a point, coach, where you can trust the rookie to run that, okay, keep him on the bench because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that outcome. Subbed and liked. I appreciate it. Totally appreciate it. 4x4ing. Stovey, Stavvy, 4x4ing. Love it. Love it. Paul Perryman, Rob, you ever gleam the cube? I don't actually know what gleaming the cube is. I hope it. Paul, you're a good guy, so I don't think it's any weird reference or anything. But educate me. What is gleaming the cube? I'll have to Google it after the show. Andrew Leggett coming in, just liked and subscribed. Finish watching you and Grant right now. You're awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really enjoy the interaction that I have here with all of you guys. I love talking Niners. You may gather that by the fact that I tend to do it for 90 minutes at a stretch. Anytime anyone's listening to me, I'm chatting Niners. Tommy talking about Jaquaski hurt. Yeah, I can't argue with that. He got a long injury history, and I do think we've got to start getting away from that. Chester, Tartan Ward was balling when they not out there. We give up big plays. Yeah, big time felt. Think of the role that those two play in just the communication behind the scenes, because they are responsible for the communication in the secondary. Subbed and liked. I love it. Karthik coming in. Ooh, Rob Schubert is better than my life will ever turn out to be. Go sub and hit that freaking bell for the man, Rob. Appreciate that. Hey, you can say Rob Schubert if you're going to throw out compliments of that way. Yes. Yes, indeed. I don't know what. Yes. Oh, Tommy here. You drink Christian Crank. I think that's coffee he's talking about. I do. I finished my last cup of coffee on Grant's show. I'm running low. I need more fuel. I got to get some coffee after this one because it's gloomy out here in Portland. This time of year, man, weather gets dark. You need some pick me up. That's why we're all addicted to coffee out here in the Pacific Northwest, Tommy. Yes, we are. We love our coffee. Ellis, talking about when Steve Young said that the 49ers don't have any dogs. I felt that statement. That's rough. When these older players are calling out the 49ers, man, that is real painful stuff. It makes you wonder what's going on within the locker room. Come on Friday. I think there are 2 to 3 players you could trade on this roster to get draft picks or swap to help you in areas of need at the end of the season into next year. But it will take not listening to the fans and balls. Come on Friday is right about that. The fans would be upset. But sometimes you got to do what's unpopular. If you believe you're right, if you are Coach Shanahan, you believe you're right. If you're John Lynch, you believe you're right. You got to stick to your guns. Because if you get fired doing something you didn't believe was right, that's worse. Black 59 Razor, Rob, is it fair to view the team's inability to address the defensive back situation with a Hall of Fame defensive back as your GM a complete fail and a fireable offense for Lynch? I don't know that I would point specifically to the defensive back situation as a fireable offense, but I think in combination with the other errors, I got to say, yeah, I think that to me, that's the most likely scenario of someone getting fired is John Lynch, because there have been some major roster misses, defensive backs, being absolutely one of those. Somebody at the end of the day, this is a results-based business. Somebody has to answer for it. Edward coming in. Kyle's a rookie coach. Very few win immediately. Oh, he's a rookie coach too. Very few rookie coaches win immediately. Hopefully he learns from 2021 disasters. Seattle did no better with injuries and a top coach. I love the positivity, and I'm still on the Kyle Shanahan bandwagon. I think a lot of folks, though, have given up on that. Lapacalolo, besides rebuilding the O-line, Kyle is still not the right coach for Trey. It is fair to question whether you've seen him develop a rookie. I don't know that I have. So I don't know that I have immediately a large level of trust there. Paul Perryman, wonder if they devised their strategy drunk at Jed's that night where they were acting like they were smarter than everyone else. I mean, a lot of things went down. That was a weird night. Yes, indeed. Too bad we play on Monday. Eric says he wants to get it coming on Sunday. Oh, Tommy with the super chat. The Schuh abides. Yes, he does. Tommy, this one's to you, my friend. Cheers. Thank you. The Schuh does abide. And I quote The Big Lebowski far more than I should. That is one of my top 5 movies. If you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, I was in college when that came out. And man, I stopped going to classes and I just watched The Big Lebowski for weeks on end. It was the greatest freaking movie, greatest event of the time there. Now, granted, I was in Stockton, California, not much else to do there. Sorry, Eric Crocker, if I'm shots at Stockton, but yeah, it was tough there. The dude abides. Big Lebowski gave me hope. Always. All right, Rick, talking about would Chris Sims work better as Kyle's GM? I don't think so. This dynamic of two people that are so friendly with one another, if it fails, I think you have to go to someone that is a bit more aggressive. I want people that are in each other's faces when they disagree. I want heated conversations when there's disagreement. All right, I am jumping over to another topic, and then I will come back in here, no question, for the comments and jump forward. Wait a minute, I see another super chat in there. You know I got to prioritize those because I have to respect the fact that people are paying hard-earned money for the super chat. My man, stay faithful, stay golden. Here is a cheers to you, Luke Luna. I appreciate that. Appreciate being rewarded for my positivity because it's tough at this point in time. Man, I see a couple of people that I haven't gotten comments from. I got to get a couple of comments in here before I go to my last topic. Mike Rotunda coming in. I don't think Trey is balling in practice, and Shanny just ain't playing him. He ain't playing him because the kid isn't ready. You have to have some faith. If you're going to be optimistic, You have to have some faith that that's the case. And that's not a bad thing. Trey came in very inexperienced. Like, just because he's not playing well right now doesn't change his potential, doesn't change what he could be as soon as the end of this year, as soon as next year. Like, still could turn out to be a positive. But if you're trying to remain optimistic and trying to understand Coach Shanahan from a less conspiracy theory based approach, I think this is a very reasonable approach. I think Mike has hit it right there. Ooh, James Campos coming in talking about give some thumbs up. I give you a thumbs up, James. Look at that. Autofocus, thumbs up. Boom. Eric with some positive, on a positive note, Jimmy Ward is practicing today. Yes, indeed. Ooh. Interesting. MySpace Tom, I didn't catch the earlier part of that, so I can't jump into it. Something about something strange going down, but I don't know, so can't jump in. Notorious GAV, what's up, Gavin? Good to see you. He says, Rob Schuh, how many bricks does Jed York have to sell to stump up the $40 million to fire him? That's a lot of bricks. That's that's probably what if you say each brick is about $40, hey, he's charged a lot more than that. So maybe it's only 100,000 bricks. It's not quite as bad. Karthik, yo, you sell any merch, Rob? No, but I am going to, because I got some ideas around good logos for this channel, and I am going to have some merch. So be on the lookout, because I definitely think I have a sense of style. You may disagree, but you'll be able to judge for yourself when I put it out. Joe J. Flight. What's up, Joe J? No leadership on this team. And also, I feel Kyle is really hurting Trey Lance's confidence. I agree in that it seemed unnecessary to confirm the report that, yeah, Trey had a great week of practice in his first week of preseason and then was inconsistent after that. It's true. And love the transparency, but why? Like, what do we have to gain from that? Is it Kyle just trying to earn some reprieve from fans by saying, hey, listen, slow your roll. Like, Trey's just not ready to be in the game. Trying to convey that. I'd rather have Shanahan wrapping his arms around the rookie and really instilling some confidence in him. I have to agree with you there. All right, I'm getting into my one of my last topics here. I got two, because I'm going to end on a positive. But the moves the 49ers are not making. Are the 49ers steering clear of irrational moves? Should we actually be glad that the 49ers haven't made a couple of the moves that they could have as sort of desperation moves to invigorate the fan base, to instill a sense that, there's still hope on the season, when in reality, those moves could have been, like I say, irrational and cost the 49ers down the road? Firing someone mid-season, that could produce a spark. It could be warranted. There could be coaches within this staff that are not performing up to where they need to and need to have some improvement there, but it sends a message of being panicked. I don't think Jed wants to be there. Signing a diva wide receiver to a one-year deal, like I personally would have wanted to do with OBJ. Now, I would have wanted to make sure that it was just that, a deal that you could get out of, a deal that you could see if there's a good relationship there, and if it's toxic, boom, out without any future detrimental dead money. But it seems that's the deal he signed. You do have to just wonder if OBJ was not willing to come to a team with the level of dysfunction that the 49ers currently, unfortunately, have going on at this point in the season. Cutting a veteran defensive back for a boneheaded play like Josh Norman did. I would have loved to let Josh go as a statement, but I get that any of those moves I just mentioned would have momentarily appeased me. They would have appeased a section of a rabid 49er fan base that is very rightfully upset at this point in time, but would also send the signal that this team is panicking, and that's not where they are. They're one game out of the playoff race, and like it or not, that is how they're basing their decision process, on that fact that they think they're still in this chase. And maybe they are. And if they end up in the playoffs, I will be eternally grateful that they didn't listen to what could have been panic moves. Could have been panic moves by Jed. It seems Jed still bought in on a plan for the future. It seems he's still being patient and hoping that this works out with the rookie quarterback. Because again, if that works out, it's really all you need from this class. Getting into the comments, what do I see right there but a super chat from Lapacalolo. Lapacalolo, cheers to you. Thank you for the super chat. It is much appreciated. Let's get into it. Got to head out. Keep up the great work. Thanks for letting us air out. Hey, I appreciate that. Sometimes you got to go. I've been talking for a while. I'm going to need to go in a little bit, but I appreciate the gift on the way out. You didn't have to do that, and that's fantastic, man. Really fantastic. Okay, here we go. Let's see some Joe J. Flight. Appreciate the compliment. I love being here. I hope it shows. MySpace Tom. I didn't get your comment in earlier. It didn't mean to say anything. It was just I couldn't understand the context of it, so I didn't get it in. But MySpace Tom says, Kyle's fed up with the fans. It does appear that way in his press conferences, doesn't it? And maybe we're being irrational. We're emotional fans. I get it. We're passionate. And when things go so badly to start the season, that passion turns into fervor. And, you know, a lot of that fervor has been directed at Kyle Shanahan. But I think what I'll say is that I think it's warranted. I think Kyle's got to accept that he kind of put himself in that situation. He and John came up with this plan that they were going to be able to ride two different strategies at once. And what is painfully clear at this point is that logic was poor logic, that they were wrong about being able to compete on two fronts. And so I do think he's fed up with the fans. I do think it shows. I think it's unfortunate that he allows it to show. Luke Luna talking to me sees that why you're good, man. You think outside of fandom with comments like that. Oh, at Rob Schuh sees that's why you're good, man. I may be just missing that first word. All right. That's why you're good, man. You think outside of fandom with comments like that. Acting irrational and moving from your plans only creates more questions. I agree. Rob Schuh, spot on, man. Thank you, Luke. Yeah, I mean, I try to stick with the logic. My emotion comes in. There's no question that my emotion comes into play. I become irrational at times, but that's typically my Monday reaction show or a post-game reaction show. I get my irrationality out, I voice it, and then I try to move on to positivity because I'm a glass half full type of guy. My glass is thankfully still half full because I do need some water. Talking for 90 minutes straight after having just gone 75 with Grant is challenging. You got to be a windbag like me to do it. You got to be a windbag. But yes, I try to get back to logic and positivity. Notorious GAV. Will I ever see the 49ers win another home game in my lifetime? I can see and hear the hopelessness, Gav. Yes, you will see another home victory, hopefully on Monday night. Hopefully on Monday night, Gav. Don't get your your expectations up. But the hopes can be high. The hopes should be high. Why not? Go in rooting for your 49ers, Gav. Go in hoping that your 49ers upset the Rams and revive this season. Stay positive. I don't blame you if you can't. Sean Dunn, Jed York does not have any interest in winning each game. Yes, he wants a Super Bowl for his family, for his ego, but the 49ers are the bank for his other investments. Otherwise, we would not be located in Santa Clara. That's a fair shot at Jed York, and he is a billionaire, so he should be able to take it. Should be able to take the heat. Karen coming in. Karan, let me know if I mispronounced. I'm going to go Karan. That's my official guess there on the pronunciation. I apologize if I get it wrong. Seems as John York at practice today. Your instant thoughts. That's interesting. That is interesting. I'd like to know with what regularity John York is there. He's typically not involved. You see him in the tunnel sometimes after games. You saw it at the Bears game. He was there to bear hug Jimmy G. I met him in the stands of the season opener in Minnesota in 2018. He's a level-headed dude. He's not he doesn't strike me as a football mind, but his involvement, his being there, you wonder if he's attempting to influence the team with that. I don't know, but I'll take anything at this point. Anything is a good thing at this point. Ellis 10 coming in. You're the man, Rob. Have faith until we can't. I will try to carry the faith for the rest of you if I can. Straight No Chaser is with me on if things go badly, this is my stance. Fire Lynch, not Kyle. If things go badly. And Straight Chaser believes that it's very clear Lynch is the problem. Straight No Chaser must believe that it is much more about being devoid of talent than it is about executing on talent. Notorious Gav calling out faith can only take you so far. Yes, you need results. You need results. Tommy is trying to incite violence with Notorious GAV saying, fire juice, Gavin. Let's see if there's a response there. Can't wait to see. There it is. The response is there. Notorious GAV quoting a great movie. I will find you, and I have a specific set of skills. I have a very specific set of skills. Love it. Scott coming in with the super chat. Thank you, Scott. Really enjoying your channel. 49ers fan from Maryland here. All right. My grandma used to live in Silver Springs, Maryland. I spent summers there as a kid. I grew up in Massachusetts until I was 8 years old. We used to go out to Silver Springs, Maryland. Shout out, Maryland. Love the crab cakes. Back to Scott's statement. I think we dodged a bullet with OBJ. Here's to hoping he causes drama with the Rams. Yes, indeed. He is a very big personality. You would think the 49ers, without the switch to Trey Lance, don't push the ball deep enough, don't have enough passes to get him the ball enough, that it could have been an ugly meltdown there. And you would think that could be the case in LA as well. He's going to be one of 3 very talented wide receivers. It's fair to ask on a team that does like to run the ball when they're winning, will they have enough passes to go around to keep everybody happy? Joe J. Flight, I feel they should have started Trey the beginning of the year, got rid of Jimmy, used that money to get better depth players. I think hindsight is 2020 here, but in looking back with 2020 hindsight, I agree with Joe J. completely. Or at least you bring in a bridge quarter, but you should have walked away from Jimmy. It was a failed strategy looking back. Ooh, here we go. Edward coming in. This isn't 2005 49ers. Only one home win. Weekly pass defense like Madden in easy mode. They are not putting up good stuff on the screen, are they, Edward? Let's hope they can turn it around. Jamie Bryant with the prediction. 27-24 49ers. Let's fricking go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Yes, indeed. Sean Dunn. The only move Lynch ever made that helped was Emmanuel Sanders. That was a great move. He goes on to say, because he was needed for a good winning team to get over the hump. Yeah, let's not look past some of the good moves that have been made. While they seem to be fewer and further between than the bad ones. Sean back in, they don't have the ability to get free agents to help a struggling team. Otherwise, they would be able to draft well, as that's the same thing in the end. Yeah, you have a limited number of resources. It doesn't matter how you choose to use them. It is up to you, but they are limited. No question. Yes, Tommy acknowledging the Liam Neeson reference of a specific set of skills, being able to take you down for insulting Juice like that, Tommy. How dare you in Gavin's eyes? Luke Luna with the super sticker coming in. Much appreciated, Luke. Always grateful for the support. All right. With the super sticker in, if you have questions you're dying to get answered that are still in the chat, throw them in at Schuh. Otherwise, I'm going to end on a positive here. So if you got a last dying question or one that I missed as I was going through, put it back in, type the at Schuh, and I'll finish on those as long as they keep us in the positive space. Or if I see them before I get too deep into this topic, I will hit those questions. Otherwise, we are going to end on a okay, Gavin's in with a question that I'm going to answer before the positivity. He says, when are you going to start doing a call-in show? I need to figure that out because I don't know the details of getting the call-in show. There's some risks involved with it, let's just say, with recent experience of other YouTubers. But I think there's so many 49ers fans that I would like to talk to voice. Gavin being on that list, tops of that list. You know I love that accent of yours, Gavin. Yeah, I got to do it. Let's make it happen. Tommy Huxley coming in. Will the Texans edge rusher help Monday night? God, I hope so, right? We need something. We need somebody to step up. Yes, we do. I think he could add some depth there. I'm not counting on huge things, But if he can just add a little bit of pressure, a couple of quarterback hits, Bosa could feast. Sean Dunn coming in, Niners 28-27. Gold for the winner, Robbie Gold. Solid gold. Yes. Manikov pushing for my mayoral candidateship here in Portland. You know I respect that, Manikov. I definitely want to run for mayor up in this crazy city I live in. Crazy city. All right. One last one. Luke Luna. Read my last comment. I tagged you in. I want to know your thoughts. Some more McDaniels comment. Ooh, Luke Luna. I got to find that comment now. At Luke, let's see if I can find it momentarily. Otherwise, oh, here we go. At Rob Schuh. I love Mike McDaniels and think he's better than anyone will ever know working with Kyle. But I feel that marriage may need to end so they both can grow. Give them one more season, then decide. Luke, this is very similar to how I feel about the pairing of Lynch and Shanahan. I begin to question, is the friendship actually detrimental to their success? Or have they created an echo chamber? Have they created a situation that's untenable because they get along for different reasons than the Harbaugh era ended? That's a fair question, and I think one that has to be asked about the McDaniels-Shanahan relationship as well. Also, do they need someone more fiery at the offensive coordinator position? Really miss Robert Saleh's fire on the sideline. Don't you guys? All right. I see one more at Rob Schuh, and then we're going to my close. You are legit. Appreciate you and will be a consistent part of your channel. Love to chat sometime. Sean, thank you. I have enjoyed your comments here today. I always love interaction, but truly insightful. Thank you. Let's finish on a positive. What if? What if, 49ers fans? Let's play the what if game. A fun game. What if as many things go right for the 49ers down the stretch as went wrong the first half of the season? There's a chance, 49ers fans. Am I saying it's likely? No. Am I trying to get your expectations up? No. But I'm trying to build hope. I'm building hope for myself. I'm building hope for the 49er faithful. What if they start to get Trey some snaps in every single game? What if they beat all the beatable teams that remain on the schedule, which is the vast majority of the games left? Very beatable teams, inconsistent teams. What if they win a couple of the seemingly unwinnable games? What if it only takes 9 and 8 to get the 7th seed in the playoffs? What if Trey has progressed to the point where he's starting by then into the playoffs, starting a rookie quarterback that defenses have no tape on? Sneak into the playoffs? Make a magical run? 49ers fans, what if? I'm not saying this to get your expectations up, but there's reasons to watch. I'm just saying there's a chance. As bad as it has been to this point, it can get better. There are reasons to be faithful. On that, I appreciate everybody coming in today. Love the dialogue. Love being here with you all. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for subscribing. Can't express how much I appreciate the super chats, the super stickers. Really cool of you guys. I will see you again soon. If I don't do a off-the-cuff show Saturday or Sunday, I'm thinking I'll do something on Sunday. So hit the notification bell if you want to see when I go live unannounced. There will be a pregame show on Monday before the game and a post-game breakdown. So if you want to get pumped up before the game, come join me on my channel Monday. And if we win or lose, I will be here to commiserate or to celebrate, Niner faithful. Until then, cheers to all of you.